Hello and welcome to GECA's event, Innovations for a Circular Economy. We're super excited to bring to you an event designed to inspire, encourage collaboration and share sustainable solutions and innovations, all whilst celebrating today, which is World Ecolabel Day. My name's Michelle Thomas. I'm the CEO for GECA, also known as Good Environmental Choice Australia. For those of you who don't know GECA, GECA is an independent, not-for-profit advisory and eco-labelling organisation that provides solutions for sustainable consumption and production. I'd like to begin today by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, and as it's an online event, this may be different for many of you. We meet today on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I would like to pay my respects to elders past and present. Also, and most importantly, I'd like to thank you for joining us online today. I do hope this event provides you a lot of solutions. Whilst the title of the event today is about innovations in circular economy, it's also very much about collaboration. Circular economy is about collaboration, and today I am joined by a fantastic lineup of speakers who are here to join and continue that conversation. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank a few of our GECA licensees today who are supporting the event. We have Keizu, who is a furniture product partner of ours, who is providing the GECA certified chairs. I'm not sure if you can see them, but you will see them throughout the day, that are lovely here on the stage. We have Microsafe Care, with their GECA certified NanoSyn sanitizer and disinfectant, which kills COVID and more, which will be used to wipe down the surfaces in the lectern so that we can ensure we're in a COVID safe environment. And we have e-water systems for their e-water sanitizer, which also kills COVID and more, which can be used for the guests that are here today as hand sanitizer. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our host for today. We have the amazing writer and comedian and presenter, Craig Reucassel, best known for his work on The Chaser, Going Through Your Bins, on the War on Waste, and the current Fight for Planet A series. We are most definitely in very safe hands today. So thank you, and please join me in welcoming to the stage, Mr. Craig Reucassel.
Thank you, Michelle. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, across Australia and abroad to the Innovations for a Circular Economy, an event brought to you by GECA in collaboration with the City of Sydney. We're here at Customs House in Sydney. I'd also like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and pay my respects to their elders past and present. And of course, you are all over Australia, and who knows where you are on World Ecolabel Day. It's great, actually, I must admit, having spent a lot of time recently wading through LCAs and trying to find answers to things. Can I just say that we need labels. We need labels that work and teach us. And it's also good to be talking about a circular economy, because I must admit, a couple of years ago, I felt like a circular economy was a little bit like the Loch Ness Monster. There was a lot of talk about it, but I don't know if anyone had actually seen it. So I'm glad we're getting together today to talk about how we can make this a reality, and that's great to see. But firstly, I'm delighted to be here, and I can't wait to introduce you to our first speaker, Councillor Jess Miller. Councillor Jess Miller was first elected to the council in 2016. She's one of the youngest people to hold elected office at the City of Sydney. She was the Deputy Lord Mayor from 2017 to 2018. She's currently the Deputy Chair of the Environment Committee. She sits on the Cycling Advisory Committee, I believe they're in favour of it, and the Inclusion Disability Advisory Panel as well. She's a Program Advisor to Sustainability and Innovation Company, Republic of Everyone. And as a councillor, she's an advocate for the environment and also for a diverse nighttime economy. So maybe focus a little bit more on the environment right now. Please welcome to the stage, Jess Miller.
Hi, thanks everybody. I too would like to acknowledge that we're meeting today on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. Now, I agree with Craig. It is a bit like the Loch Ness Monster, this whole concept of a circular economy. It's something that people talk a lot about, but we are only, I think, in the sort of beginning phases of actually figuring out what it looks like, what it feels like, and in Craig's case, maybe what it even smells like as he goes through those bins. But what is it that kind of has led us to this point? I think the fact that we have such a huge issue with waste is it's not about policy. It's, well, maybe it is a little bit about policy, but fundamentally it's this failure of imagination and failure to value what we actually have. There's also another thing that I kind of often notice is that frequently the enemy of sustainability, again, it's not always about policies or bins or designs or even labels sometimes, it's convenience. And so if, as part of all the work that we do today and all the work that GECA has been doing for a long time, if we can start to ensure that doing the right thing is not only the thing to do, but we can do it easily and that we're motivated and reminded to do it all the time, I think we're going to get some and start seeing some really big wins. Now, at the city, we're only actually responsible for around about 10% of the waste that gets collected. So we have to collaborate, and we have some fantastic staff and programs, and you'll hear from Zoe a little bit later. We have the Sustainable Destination Partnership, the Better Building Partnership, and we really rely on working through these partnerships to be able to achieve significant impact through scale. Something that we've been looking at for quite some time is how do we enable these collaborations, not just with industry, but also with other councils. And something that's happening that's really exciting that you can see as an outcome of this emerging circular economy is the way that we're working with the Southern Sydney Regional Organisation of Councils to convert glass into new roads. Now, that's just one example of the kinds of things that we want to see more of as we innovate through the circular economy. That's not to say that we've got it all figured out. I think it was probably maybe 4 or so years ago that I stood alongside Craig in Martin Place and witnessed the horrible pile of textiles. So textiles is something that we're still really struggling with, but something that has to have a solution. And so that's really what this conversation is about. It's about identifying the problems, but also working out how we can better collaborate to find these solutions. Procurement is a way that we can do it, but also at the City of Sydney, like we support this program today, we also have a whole range of grants. So for everybody out there who has a germ of an idea, who has an imagination, who can see better ways of doing things, we really, really, really warmly encourage you to jump on the City of Sydney's website to apply for grants, to find out ways in which you can collaborate, because it's really going to take all of us to get this right. And the sooner we see these labels, the sooner we see these signs, the sooner we see these programs out there in the world, the better. So thank you. I'll be looking forward to listening to all of today's speakers, stealing all of your ideas, and hope that everybody at home is jotting down things that they'd like to see, because we'd really love to keep supporting it. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jess. I agree with Jess. If we can make things convenient, if we can make it the obvious choice, that's often how we need to do it. And you need labels to do that, you need incentives to do it as well. And that's a big part of what we'll hopefully talk about today. I'd now like to introduce our next guest. Joining us online from Brisbane is the Assistant Minister for Waste Reduction and Environment Management, the Federal Member for Brisbane, Trevor Evans. Trevor was sworn in as the Assistant Minister for Waste Reduction and Environmental Management in 2019. He's also served as the Chair of the Government's Policy Committee on Employment, Innovation, Science, Small Business and Resources, and also on the Economics and the Environmental Parliamentary Standing Committees. As one of the nation's first openly gay federal MPs, Trevor also played a central role in the Yes campaign to legalise same-sex marriage in Australia. I know personally I'm thrilled there is a minister, even an assistant minister, looking at the issue of waste. So please welcome from Brisbane, Trevor Evans.
Thank you very much for that warm introduction, Craig. Thank you everyone for your time here today. And thank you to Michelle and the team at GECA for inviting me to say a few words as well. I know in more normal times, I get to hang out with the team at GECA very often, including at times when we get to catch up, at conferences and expos for waste and recycling right around Australia. Can I also just say, Craig, I'm actually in Canberra in Parliament House at the moment, not in Brisbane at the moment. And so if some bells go off in the background, it is because there are some parliamentary votes happening. So my apologies if there's the sound of bells competing for microphone time as I say these introductory words. I am paired though, so I don't have to run away if there's a vote on at any point in time. As Craig said, I am the first Assistant Minister there's ever been in a federal government with responsibilities for waste reduction, recycling and building a more circular economy. And it's something that I find very exciting, and it's something that I'm passionate about. And of course, it's very easy to be passionate about it and very excited when I do get to work with so many stakeholders from other governments, from local government, from industry, from business, from environmental organisations, GECA and everybody else. It is a really exciting time to be involved. I think Tuesday night's budget was the first time that recycling has ever been mentioned as a key plank of a federal budget, which is very, very good. And you know, I think it's time. And clearly the government and from the Prime Minister down has seen the opportunity that exists for a more circular economy that takes these concepts around waste reduction and recycling and turns them into that opportunity that I know the councillor was referring to as well, around seeing the potential value in these resource streams, about the jobs and the economic prosperity that can be created if we can start to do things better and really bring about a whole host of changes that need to happen in order to shepherd in a more circular economy. We're also talking at the time when my first bill is before the Parliament. And if it passes, when it passes, Australia will get its first Recycling Act. And there's many things I could talk about today, but in 10 minutes, I've got to try to keep it as brief as I possibly can. So the two things that I'll really call out from inside of that Recycling Act is that it will give effect to our waste export bans. So no longer will Australia be sending its mixed plastics, its waste glass, whole tyres, waste or contaminated paper, cardboard to other countries around our region who are often ill-equipped to deal with them. That export practice is stopping once these laws are passed. And it happens at the same time as the government's Recycling Modernisation Fund is helping to build the facilities that we need onshore to ensure that we can grab the value of these resources. So it's no good for us to stop our exports if you know, the hundreds of thousands of tons of material are simply dumped here onshore or go into landfill. So what we need to see, and what's too rare around Australia at the moment, is the sorts of facilities that can take things like our mixed plastic waste streams, like our pulp waste streams, whole tyres, mixed or contaminated glass, sort them here on shore, process them and turn them into material streams that can go into the next generation of fantastic products. And that's exactly what that Recycling Modernisation Fund will do. And all of our work in this space, the new National Waste Action Plan, the Recycling Bill, the Recycling Modernisation Fund, have come about because of the engagement that the councillor was just referring to, which is so necessary in this space. We've worked very closely with state and territory governments who do continue to have the majority of the powers and the legislative authority in this space. But the federal government can play a role too, bring people to the table, show leadership, help expand our planning horizon and bring about a level of harmonisation nationally that's, I guess, been missing to date. And it's really important to have local government at the table too, because operationally they've been responsible for much of this going back many, many decades operationally. And it's important to have the experts from the environmental groups, from industry, from businesses, right up and down the supply chain involved as well, because they've got a lot of the expertise that we need to take advantage of as we bring about these changes. There's lots of other things that I could talk about, but I do want to highlight in just one moment on the concept of product stewardship. The recycling bill that's in front of the Parliament right now will take that concept of product stewardship and turbocharge it going forwards. Between the legislative changes we're making and the new funding that we've got on the table with our Product Stewardship Investment Fund, we are seeing dozens, in fact, more than 100 new product stewardship schemes being worked on right now that are going to, I think, be a game changer for starting to see the sorts of better recovery and recycling rates that we've seen with some of the better schemes that we've had to date, like Planet Ark's cartridge recycling scheme or Mobile Muster or similar. There are some really exciting proposals out there, and I hope everybody, for instance, saw the great news just a week or so ago that with a little bit of collaboration and engagement that the federal government helped bring about, Australia is getting its first national battery recycling scheme next year, which is much overdue in my opinion, and very, very exciting for all of us who've known how important that is as a particularly problematic waste stream in the past. Look, there's lots more that I could talk about. We're doing work in the Pacific with our Pacific Ocean litter project. We've got a number of very important demand side interventions around the federal government's procurement policy around identifying big resource intensive infrastructure projects that can use recycled content, and the new national guidelines and standards we're writing to help every council and every development company around Australia to be able to use more recycled content in their roads and their other infrastructure projects. But I think in closing, I'll just mention a couple of big upcoming pieces of work. As the Act passes through the Parliament, as the Recycling Modernisation Fund starts to lead to the facilities and infrastructure being built right around Australia to start to receive and better sort and process these materials, as all of that starts to happen, we are bedding down a plastics plan, which is due by the end of this year. And once that's bedded down, we're going to work on what we see as one of the next very big priorities, and that is the food and organics waste side of our waste streams. And there's some very, very exciting work to be done there too. And just in closing, clearly a key theme of all of our work is the innovation that we need to see across all of these waste streams, across all of the business models that need to be adjusted, across all of the policy interventions and the funding and other incentives that are on the table. Very excitingly, we've put funding out there that's been hugely oversubscribed already for research into recycling, into new and innovative approaches to the plastics industry, and indeed into where food and organics waste streams meet with soils strategy of the federal government. There's lots more to happen. Hopefully everybody's very excited about the manufacturing and recycling announcements that there were in the budget. And with that, I'll pass it back over to you. Thank you for the opportunity to say some words.
Thank you very much. Trevor Evans, the Assistant Minister for Waste Reduction and Environmental Management and thank you. Yeah, amazing amount of stuff happening on the recycling front. A lot of money in the budget there, and it is interesting how the closing of the back door, the closing of the simple out of sending something overseas, I think is going to have a big impact on changing the game. It has to be, obviously, as Trevor has said, it has to be matched with actually dealing with that product here in Australia. But I think the challenge is very much being set. So I look forward to seeing what comes out today from all the different panels we have who are dealing with a lot of different aspects of a circular economy to see how we can find those solutions. So thank you to Trevor coming to us live from Parliament, and no bells during that. So thank you very much for that. Today